Hey podcaster, I'm Tim Wahlberg, your podcast performance coach, with another actionable tip so you can grow your authority and convert with ease. Today's tip is the secret to Joe Rogan's success. So you want to be Joe Rogan, or the Joe Rogan in your niche. Here's how to do it. Get yourself a time machine, go back to your 20s and become a stand-up comedian, then star in 2 network TV shows that your audience loves. In your 30s, become the face of an entity that your audience goes nuts for, like Joe did with UFC. Host your own reality TV game show where people eat tarantulas because your audience loves that type of shit, and then release a stand-up special on Netflix. And in your 40s, that's when you start a podcast, and 10 years later, or around your 1500th episode, sign a $100 million deal with Spotify. It's easy. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, that's ridiculous. Do you know how hard it is to get plutonium and a DeLorean? Plus, I want to do this in 6 months. Okay, let's get serious. I talked to a lot of podcasters during my free 15-minute coaching calls, and Joe Rogan's level of success comes up often. And look, I'll be the first one to tell you to think big, but also be realistic. But why can't you have a show that big? I'm not saying you can't, but let's talk about a few things that you actually can learn from Joe Rogan's success. Here's what he's doing right, and here's what any podcaster can do. Number 1 is know your brand, know your audience, live your brand, show up authentically every single episode. Not everyone's going to be able to get away with doing a 3-hour show because not everyone has an audience that has 3 hours to kill. When you are unapologetically you, understand that you're not going to please everyone all the time. There are going to be people who hate you. And in order to have that kind of love that Joe Rogan has, you have to have people who hate you as much. There are people who detest Joe Rogan, but that's part of the magic. It's the same as Howard Stern. Well before Joe Rogan, there was Howard Stern, and people hated him. People protested him, and that made the people who loved him love him even more. So don't be afraid to piss people off. Don't be afraid to not be the right flavor of every single person's palate. Just be you. Be authentically you. And if it's part of your brand or your business, don't apologize. The second thing that I always tell people when they come saying they want to be the next Joe Rogan of their industry is I ask them, do you really need millions of listeners? What is your business? How many people can you handle? How big can your business get? How quickly are you ready to scale? How big is your team? And do you really need that many listeners in order for your podcast to be successful as a marketing tool for your business? Think about it. Joe Rogan's business is the podcast. If you're podcasting for your business, you don't need Joe Rogan's numbers. But, I do talk to a lot of podcasters who say, I just want to be the Joe Rogan of X. And I understand why, because of the lure of the success that he's gotten. And who doesn't want to be bought by Spotify and given millions of dollars to talk into a microphone? The vibe that Joe Rogan brings, it's very casual and it's loose. He makes his guests feel at ease enough to let their guard down. Joe Rogan does that. And this is what a good host of any show can do with a lot of experience. Know how to handle a guest, read a room, read a person, and break down the barriers immediately. Yes, sometimes with a little help from a few drinks or a big fat joint, but that's part of his brand, remember. And when the room is loose, it's easy to veer off topic and talk about anything. Remember, Joe Rogan is a celebrity. His fans love to hear his guests, who are also celebrities too, remember, talk about all sorts of stuff. That's why he can get away with talking about current events, comedy, politics, religion, philosophy, science, food, and hobbies. That list sounds familiar. It's pretty much every Apple podcast category there is. And with millions of listeners and celebrityism, you can talk about anything you want. It's harder to do that when starting from zero and when you're a zero. If you're podcasting for your business, stay on brand and on topic. Become known for something. Become the expert. Own your niche. Stick with what you know. Be passionate about it. Be the go-to for that. Have a niche, and your passionate listeners will find you. And the third thing you can learn from Joe Rogan is don't go it alone. I already said this, but I think it's pretty important to point out that Joe Rogan is not a single person. He's a brand and he's a business. He has a big team, a huge team, a production team, an agent, a publicist, and PR people. He has lawyers. There are a lot of people in the corporation of Joe Rogan that makes his podcast possible. And that's what makes it so successful. He did not build that audience on his own. If you want to get big, get good, and stay consistent, chances are you're going to need some support. Successful podcasters put in the work week in and week out with systems and support. And I'll also throw in that out of the nearly 2,000 episodes that Joe Rogan's team has put out there, I'll bet there aren't any when his mic or his guest's mic doesn't work or sounds like shit, but they'll just put it out there anyway. This isn't just about having top-notch production for your show, but useful and informative show notes to support each episode, amazing looking and engaging social posts, and obviously super valuable content that your audience cares about and is worthy of sharing and talking about. When it comes to podcast support, get as much support as you can afford. Now, there's a lot more that you can learn from the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, but being apologetically authentic, having a niche, and getting support are just 3 things that you can do now instead of building your own flux capacitor. And I hope that's just the tip you need. If you're a podcaster who's thinking your show could be better, it could be getting more listeners, could be generating more qualified leads, or whatever your goals might be, but you're not sure what to fix first, get over your fear factor and book a free coaching call with me right now. You've got nothing to lose and a whole lot of ideas, encouragement, and clarity to gain. Book your free 15-minute coaching call by using the link in the show notes or at podcastperformancecoach.com. I'm Tim Wahlberg. See ya!